I don't have an IPL sticker. If I had any IPL stickers, I would definitely give you one, but unfortunately I don't have any, I don't have any. Oh. Ugh. Yeah, sorry. It's a real shame. I want socks. What's poppin', Tofu? What's poppin' is that I'm still writing this episode. Will you watch? You missed the plot? No. Last episode was talking about the seeding. This episode's actually talking about the matches that are going to happen. So they're two different topics on the same coin. Good morning, Thicey Bread. Wassaun. There is no lore to me. There is no mystery to the man behind the pop gun. Old Splatver. How about that? Splatting your way. You know, you are the most active, retired, never coming back to the game player I've ever seen in competitive Splatoon. You know that? Congratulations. 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 Wait, what? Wait, audio's looping. Okay, audio's looping. Okay, audio's looping. Okay, audio's looping. Okay, audio's. Ah! I see what's going on there. Okay, I think we fixed that. This is what happens when I don't wear these stupid headphones. That's funny. Is the heat not working? Why do you ask? Is that a ligma joke or something? Oh, because I'm wearing a hoodie? It is a little chilly in here. I'm getting things worse. What's ligma? Ask Steve Jobs. It's horrible. It's tragedy. right. Finished all my notes. We can actually do an episode today. How about that? Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify. While you're scrambling to get your low-ink exemption request put in before the Friday deadline, inventing new words like trogening and having your made-up definitions approved by a definition website, dropping a 34 bomb against babies in the Nintendo versus High School League, whatever it is that you're doing right now, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Can we talk about this High School League for like a quick second? Like the Nintendo versus thing. They hyped it up on the Nintendo stream, and it's been going on this season. The only reason I see anything about it is whenever Splatver or Flabber post their screenshots of like, hey, look at me dropping, let me just like absolutely spawn camping 1v4 against these babies that have like two, like a B rank or no rank at all. And it's like, what is going on here? This is if you are a player that's like even close to +3 skill level, you are just going to do whatever you want to do in these matches, and it's hilarious to see, but it's also like, what's the point here? I guess that's kind of what you would expect from a high school league. I mean, it's not like there's 3 other people in your high school that probably play the game enough to get to X rank. Again, the world we live in, we think everybody's X rank, and if you don't have X ranks, like, you can't even play competitive. No, you can do it, but you kind of forget like 99% of the people that actually play that video game, Splatoon 2, don't have an X rank and can't really keep up with people who do. So it's when you step out of that world and you're just dominating left and right, it's kind of an eye opener there. You got jerseys coming in. That's actually pretty cool. But if I had to gamble, which you shouldn't gamble in high school sports, but if I had to take a bet, I think Splatver's team and Flabber's team are going to end up in the national, in the grand finals for not just their state. I guess, is there any other teams in your state that are even playing? I wonder. So they'll be playing for the national championship, I'm sure, which will be on ESPN, the Ocho. And I'll just be a 1v1 with just make it a 1v1 and the other 3 players just like stand on the side and just booyah and cheer them on. My goodness, can we take a chill pill? Stop using like Splash, dude. Like, use like a charger or something. Like, make it fun for the other team to some extent. You can't. Why? I mean, why stop at Splash? Why not bust out the K-Gal and start attacking people with that? Hey, I did a Popcast episode yesterday. The VOD is up on YouTube if you're interested in that. Today we're going to be previewing LUTI with my predictions of literally every single div this time around, X on down to 9. It's gonna be crazy. I don't think I can accurately talk about all 250 teams, but in a span of an hour. But we can knock out a good chunk of it. So don't take what I say today as information you should use for your fantasy bracket. I'm not even filling out a fantasy bracket because I know I'm going to do good in some divs and horrible in others. And nobody can beat Parias anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But hey, if you're interested more in the actual seeding process, my thoughts on the divs in general, not who's going to win them, but who is... why certain teams got certain, well, not why certain teams got certain divs, but the process behind divving teams. Check out episode 83. It's up on YouTube. The VOD's still up on Twitch, unless you're watching this VOD on YouTube like 2 weeks from now, in which case you're probably already watched 83 on YouTube anyway, so why am I even wasting time talking to you? But today, we're going to talk about the actual tournament itself, div by div. Also, if you're playing in low ink, make sure you sign up for that sooner rather than later. If you feel like you're not, if you feel like you don't know if you're good enough or if you're allowed to be playing in low ink, sign up anyways. If you know for a fact you are banned or you were banned at some point and then you got moved down to Div 5, put in an exemption request just to be safe. If we find anything weird, we'll DM you. If you don't get DM'd, just assume you're good. Your cookies and juice to go. But make sure a lot of people are kind of waiting until the last minute. Make sure you sign up now. Don't bombard our verification staff because they got LUTI sets they need to play too. They got low inks that they want to play in as well. A good chunk of our staff actually does play in low ink. So, yeah, triggerfish zones you can play, but I'll tell you right now, you better not put Kraken on that roster. But first, the cool thing about LUTI, the actual tournament itself, it's completely different from anything you've ever done in competitive Splatoon. If this is your first LUTI, which I would assume for the vast majority of you is not your first LUTI. I feel like the vast majority of you have played LUTI before. But if this is your first time playing a LUTI, some things you want to keep in mind. This is not a best of 3 Swiss stage where you play 6 different teams and you have no idea who you're playing until the Swiss round actually starts and you get fed your team and you swap friend codes and then you take 10 minutes to get into the lobby because somebody's still playing solo queue for some reason. This time around, you get a full week to prepare for your opponent. And that's really the difference here. A lot of times you'll see a team beat another team that they can't beat in a low ink or they can't beat in any other tournament. But they can beat them in LUTI. Circumstances a little bit different. It's not best of 3 this time around. It's best of 9. We'll talk more about that later. But more importantly, you have an actual week to prepare. If you know what you're doing and you know what your opponent is going to do, you can find a way to where your game plan alone will get you a couple of wins. Then you can cheese some others and then your skill level can just get you another win as well. A lot of teams will win their LUTI matches straight off of preparation that they do. A lot of teams will lose LUTI matches straight off of the not so much lack of preparation what they do, but from the fact that they just give their game plan away. If you're a team that traditionally streams your scrims, you are not going to have a fun time in LUTI, especially in the higher divs. It actually does nothing to do with divs. Any div, if you have a team that has been in this scene for a while, has been playing in tournaments for a while, has been playing in LUTIs a couple of seasons, if you stream anything this week that's like going to be your comps that you're going to use in the tournaments in the LUTI week, or anything like that, how you're going to play each map, your opponent is going to find it. They're going to watch it several times. They're going to break down. They're going to look for tendencies. They're going to figure out what your comp is going to be, and they're going to come up with counters for you. I promise you they're going to do that because my team has done that. That was a big reason why we made playoffs Div 4 back in Season X, just because we spent a lot of time game planning for a lot of the teams that we went up against. So be mindful of that, I guess is what I'm saying. If you want to broadcast, I mean, I used this analogy before. It's like the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they went to the Cleveland Browns and was like, hey, we videotaped our practice all week long. Here, we want you to have this. Have fun with that. It's like, okay. Interestingly enough, not everybody cares enough about LUTI to like look into things like that, but I promise you I do. I definitely look for information like that. For me, it makes it a little bit more fun. You get to make your own schedule, which is, it's not as pleasant as it may sound, as most of you have probably already figured out this week. Talking to the other captain is miserable. I think this is the first time. Shout out to the team we play this week. I think this is the first time, and we've done 6 LUTI seasons as a team. I think this is the first time the opposing captain reached out to me before I reached out to them in all 6 seasons. So that alone got me excited for this. Now, like finding that time that works out perfectly to where your roster can be available and their roster can be available, it doesn't always work out, and sometimes it takes a little bit extra time. But still, the fact that you can at least open communication. If any of you have not opened communication with your opponents, your captain yet, it's Tuesday. Man, you're in for a rough season. I promise you that. And I say that because this is a rough time to do LUTI in general. You got Thanksgiving next week. You got Christmas that'll be coming up around like playoff time. Maybe Christmas is during like the makeup week. You also got a lot of college students that are going to be taking finals, got projects due. They got a lot of things they need to work on. Not college students, high school students as well. You got students in general that this is crunch time for them. It's holiday season. So this is everyone's going to be naturally busy anyways. And of course, December, just Splatoon December-wise, we got High Ink on the 4th. We got the Little Squid League major the weekend after that, Saturday and Sunday after that. You got the Girls Duo Cup the week after that, and we haven't announced the date for Low Ink yet, but Low Ink is going to be taking up an entire weekend as well on that. So it's going to be crazy busy for a lot of people. So here's a pro tip. You do not want to use your mulligan, your bye week in week 1. Do not let your opponent do that. Be a bully. If your opponent is like, hey, we're not available, skip it. Be like, no. Are you available at 2 a.m. today? Are you available right now? What time do you go to sleep on Sunday? You need to find a way to get your week 1 match in. I promise you, if you use a mulligan in week 1, you are going to have a miserable time because you want to use that mulligan possibly next week. You might want to use it the week after. And if you burn it already, you are setting yourself up for failure. Do not let that happen. Force your opponent to play the match. And if there's no way you can play it, so be it. But don't be so quick to be like, oh, you're not available Thursday? Okay, yeah, you can use that mulligan. Sure, go ahead. We don't care. No, stand up for yourself. Don't let the opposing captain walk all over you. You will have a bad time in LUTI season. I promise you. It's okay to be a little bit of a jerk when it comes to LUTI seeding. With that being said, because I could talk about this. I could gripe about LUTI actually playing and setting up all the LUTI stuff forever. But I got a life, so let's get through this. We're going to be looking at Div X all the way down to 9. And we're going to make sure this lovely transition happens here. Transition, smooth and safe. Look at all this. All right. Div X. I got a crazy prediction for you. Starburst is going to win this div. There we go. All right, let's move on to Div 1. No, look. Here, let me kind of... that's not a hot take, obviously. Everybody believes that. Let me kind of solidify why it's impossible almost for Starburst to lose the set here. Could somebody beat Starburst in a best of 3 in this set here? Of these 8 teams here? Yes. Yeah, a best of 3? Sure. Cheese somebody in a Rainmaker, get a win off of a DC past the point to where it could be replayed, just get the right lockout in the splat zones. Yeah. Any of these teams could beat Starburst in a best of 3 just because there's more likely for jank to happen in a set like that. Could one of these teams beat Starburst in a best of 5? If your name's not FT Win or Kings, I don't think we've seen that all year long. So the answer is no, but it's not out of the question. Arctic Moon took Starburst to a game 5 at Riptide, but that was just mainly because Arctic Moon was a different beast altogether on land. And Starburst might have been a little bit sluggish that Sunday morning. Maybe they didn't get the coffee from that coffee shop that usually had a really long line or whatever. But Starburst can be taken to a game 5 in a best of 5, but they're extremely hard to put away in that game 5. So could someone beat them in a best of 5? We haven't seen it all year long, but it's not out of the question. Is anyone going to beat Starburst in a best of 9? No, it can't be done. I don't care. The teams that are here, they can't beat Starburst 5 times in a single set. It's impossible almost. There's not enough jank that can go their way. There's not enough preparation they can do. It just, that's why Starburst is so untouchable here in DivX. The best of 9, it leaves out any room for upsets or jank to happen, and that's why they're going to win here. If you want another team though, who's like vying for second place, Bed has improved a lot from last season. They got Twig now, which is obviously Twig, the Kgal player from formerly of Arctic Moon, I guess. So their roster is really strong. Arctic Moon in general has gone over a roster revamp. They got a new player from Japan that lives in Switzerland that seems really strong. They also got Shockwave from Australia. So they're covering the entire continent, the entire planet. But their new revamped roster seems to be pretty good. Good Morning, I guess, is a team I kind of have question marks about because they're like an actual consistent team playing, and they seem to be doing better and better every time that they're playing here, especially when they almost beat non-FTW in the Nintendo tournament on Saturday. So Good Morning, I guess, obviously a DivX team, but I guess the question mark is how good are they going to be? Are they going to be a team we're talking about going into 2022 as like a contender to start taking sets off of the big boys? And like be a contender to be like, hey, maybe don't forget about us when you're talking about some of the best teams in North America in general or the West as a whole. This would be this season's a good opportunity for Good Morning to make a legit claim, name for themselves, I guess you could say. Div 1. Look how easy we're just moving right through this. If you notice something here, this, as I have my notes written out here, is Rising Matrix. This is a weird way to spell out the word Rising Matrix, isn't it? It's almost as if Rising Matrix dropped from this tournament and Tempest was a Div 2 team who got bumped up. Now, this is why you don't necessarily want to pay attention to this little number over here, because Tempest did not go from being a Div 2 team to being one of the top teams in Div 1 just because Rising Matrix dropped. No, they just took that spot here. Is Tempest a Div 1 team? Yeah, in my opinion, yeah, for sure. You look at the other teams that made it into Div 1, and you got to think Tempest is definitely right with them. I think the difference was they played in the SOS last week, and they lost to Tukey down here. So that was the reason why Tempest, like when it came down to those two teams, it's like, well, Tukey's got the head-to-head on Wednesday against them. Makes more sense for them to get put in, but now they're in straight up outright. It doesn't matter because the problem with this group is they got Gol de Lucas in this group here. This team pretty much won every SOS that they bothered to sign up for until they got bored and went on to do something else. So I would expect this team to do really good in Div 1 and win this group. Not to overlook who's a really strong pickup, or Memory, who's a really strong team, or Micklin Heroes, who's a really old, strong team. But I like Gold DeLucas here over all these teams. Even with Rising Matrix, I still like these guys here. Grape Juice. This is a former DivX team. I think some of the seeding council members felt like they fell off a little bit. But there's a lot of other teams. A lot of people were big on Borgor. UK Mafia is kind of a consistent Div 1 team. A lot of people didn't seem super thrilled about ASC Tenshi here making this high div, but I still believe in grape juice. It's a disgusting drink, but I think the former experience of being a DivX team, even though they didn't do particularly well in DivX last season, should give them a little bit more confidence here now that they're one of the big dogs in the group as opposed to being one of the bottom teams in DivX. Group C, here's the interesting team. Happy Family, right? This is just like an all Twitter Twitch team here. It's got Robbie, Slim, Dude, Matt, Power, Tura, Rizza, and Will. I mean, this team might have the most clout in all of LUTI here. And obviously, Dude, a former DivX player, I think Dura might be as well. And I mean, all these other players obviously really strong in their own right, but you realize only 4 people can play the game at a time. It's like the Miami Heat when LeBron and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh were all on that team. It was like, you guys realize only one of you can shoot the basketball, right? Like, how is this going to work? So this is going to be a difficult team to game plan for. I don't know how seriously they're taking it. If they're like game playing, trying to beat everybody, if they're just kind of like, hey, who's available to play at this time? Let's just go have fun with any 4 people. But still, this is the mystery team. Kanton, the number 1 seed here. I feel like this is well-deserved. Nawal Gaming, definitely a Div 1 team. I don't know if they're capable of winning this group in general, because Kanton, definitely a strong team in their own right. Group D. Knights of Queen. This team, I genuinely thought people were going to complain about Knights of Queen being Div 1. Maybe they did, and I just didn't see it. But Knights of Queen made playoffs in Div X last season. I think they've had a little bit of a roster revamp, and they've been prone to upset. I believe Operation Paradox beat them in Super Jump, and I only know about that because they talked about it for about the rest of the year. I think they're going to put that on their gravestone when they die, that they beat Knights of Queen. But, I mean, it's a nice win. But still, I think Knights of Queen in a LUTI setting, kind of what I talked about, best of 9, you get a week to game plan. They proved in DivX last season they were still really strong in this kind of tournament environment. The Root, this team that I cannot pronounce, I know I've talked about them a lot because I've kept saying I can't pronounce their name because they're doing good in some other weekly tournaments. I believe this is the Australian team, Centerlink Esports, so probably the best team in Australia. And of course, Tuki. I mean, what can you say about that? It's good that Tuki flat out earned this spot here in Div 1. I'm not saying they're going to struggle. I think they definitely have the capability of getting some set wins here. But if they make playoffs here, I would be genuinely shocked if Tuki made playoffs here, just because they got a really rough group here, really rough international group here. So scheduling for these guys is going to be a nightmare, unfortunately, for them. As you notice, I'm not predicting who's going to win the actual Div outright, because I know that's just going to set me up for failure. But I'll at least talk about who I like in each team. How about that? Div 2! Look, to be fair, yeah, look, has LeBron choked in some finals? Yeah. Has he still won 4 NBA championships? Yeah, that's in like a way that where it wasn't because of somebody else. Like, if LeBron's not on that team, they don't win. Yeah, so that if LeBron gets blamed for choking, you also have to give him credit for everything he wins. People try to take credit away from LeBron whenever he wins a tournament. It's like, no, he's kind of the main reason they win, even if he doesn't make the key shot at the right moment. Div 2. Now, I got to be careful about this one because my team is in this div. So I'm not trying to poke any bears here. If we make playoffs and we play any of these teams, oh, you said this about my team. No, like, whatever. Div A here. How long are we? How long are we going to just label Sanctum as the incident team, the Dynasty Dragon Wave team? It's kind of funny that there's a key moment that just kind of sticks with you forever. Like, are we going to remember Myopsidus forever just for that shark play that they pulled against ITAP? Well, if you do something significant, we kind of start forgetting about that as your identity and you start becoming something else. Sanctum here, being in Div 2, they've earned this. They've been doing really well in tournaments after what they did. Why are you watching me on the Switch? You have more. You should take better care of yourself here. Sanctum's been popping off in a lot of tournaments since we kicked them out of Low Ink. Obviously, as they made it up there here to Div 2. I think this is one of the, other than Rising Matrix, I think Sanctum is one of the best teams to come out of Low Ink this year as far as divs are concerned. However, Selk really strong here. And the seeding council didn't even make them the number 1 seed. I don't know much about this industry team. We do know CDs in Port Raccoon, though. Port Raccoon finished in second place in Div B in Flutie, losing to Dreamscape, who found their way into this div as well. But CDs, this isn't the same exact roster that was that made top 8 at Riptide. Oh wow, is that the? Let's move this over here to where you guys cannot see this. So the roster for CDs in this one is Bahamut, Pulp, Latios, Daphnape, and Woomph. So Pulp and Latios were 2 players on that Riptide CDs team. So it's not like the straight up same roster. Like there's no Brock, and I think Nishi was the other player they had at then. But still, CDs in general, those players in general, good enough to be, absolutely good enough to be Div 2. I thought I was going to sneeze, but I didn't end up there. Group B. You got a lot of teams trending down and a lot of teams trending up in the right direction. You got some teams that have fallen off here a little bit, but you also got some teams like OFBO that are always strong in every tournament that they play in. You could make the argument for them to be in Div 1. You could also make the argument, some people did, for Cart Off L to be Div 1 as well. But Papega Pig Gang, I believe this is the team I took some notes to hear about. A strong pickup, and all of the players on this team have wins against Div 1 players in their own right. Maybe not together all together. iChar dropped today, unfortunate. But Papega Pig Game seems to be like the strong Div 2 pickup where all their players have results against Div 1 teams, current Div 1 teams. So this seems to be a really strong EU group in their own right, in whoever replaces iShard. As breaking news, iShard has dropped from this tournament. I think this is the team we scrimmed last night. Doki Doki Literature Club. So this was Tempest. And I could be wrong if this was the team. We scrimmed the team last night, and Pulp's on the CD, so I know that's not true. But they seem, clearly putting them at Div 2 seemed to be the right spot. And this is where Tempest was. I don't really know. I had Tempest winning this group before. Now that they're not here, I feel like Doki Doki's. I feel like this is pretty much an even group. I feel like everybody, mostly everybody, has a shot here to get playoffs. This team is more of a pickup. It's got Yeet and it's got Cannon. Those were the 2 players off the top of my head that I know are on this team. Definitely Div 2 potential. That should frustrate a lot of teams. Obviously, it's kind of funny that Operation Paradox or Campfire and Paradise are in the same group. Roller v. Roller nonsense going to be going on when those 2 teams play. That might be the most hyped up set in all of LUTI when these 2 teams play against each other, just because they're constantly flirting on Twitter. I'm not going to say anything about Operation Paradox, because if I say anything negative, like their entire roster is just going to at me on Twitter, because they can't handle anybody betting against them, apparently, even though it was only 79,000 channel points that I was willing to bet. Okay, that it's not that big of a deal. I think Operation Paradox can win this group, though. Honestly, without Tempest, I feel like they can. Just because I know their comp kind of frustrates a lot of people, and hey, that's never apologize for winning. Because there's nothing wrong with winning. Group D, here's where I'm not going to say much, okay? Because I'm not trying to poke any bears here. I'm not trying to give anybody any bulletin board material about what they say about them. I'll talk about one team though. Dreamscape really scares me in this group, honestly, because I feel like we don't know the actual limit to what Dreamscape is capable of. They played in what div did they win? They won Div 5 America last season. They won Gamma Bracket in Super Jump, and they won Div B in LUTI. So when they get to a bracket stage, they do nothing but win. So that kind of scares me. Now, yeah, well, it's just Div 5, it's just Gamma Bracket and Super Jump, it's just Div B. But yeah, I mean, but when they do nothing but win, when these guys don't know how to lose, and you play in a LUTI set, that's kind of scary. I'm glad we don't play them first. Who does play these guys first? Jester. Okay, this will be very telling for both teams. This matchup that they play against each other that week, but this is the only team I'm going to hype up in this dip. That's not to say I don't think these other teams are really good, but we're playing safe here. I know the people who watch the Popcast. I know the people who lurk, and that's these guys. So I'm not touching this one. So shout out to Meta Noia for being cool and DMing me first to set up the schedule. Always nice. Div 3. See, Operation Paradox does love me. Twice. Operation Paradise, is that what I just called them? That sounds fair. Div 3, Twice. A lot of people were like, wait, you look at the other teams in Div 2, why did Twice not get in there? Man, I don't know what happened to these guys in LUTI. I have no idea what happened to these guys in LUTI. Did they just not did they play like 3v4 the entire time, or did they use like a bunch of subs and it wasn't actually Twice? Like they just had a bad tournament. Oh my. That doesn't take away. Look, you're allowed to have a bad tournament. The problem is, and this kind of feeds into what Brush was asking yesterday. If you have a good tournament, it's all fluid, right? Is you are moving up, what you got to realize is other people are moving down at the same time. So it's not just like you jumping over people, it's other people falling down as well. So you're allowed to have a bad tournament, yes, but what you realize is that doesn't mean that that other people are going to be punished for you having a bad tournament. If other people do good, they get to move up themselves. Twice is in a rough group here. I don't think this is free for Twice. I think they make playoffs, but I don't know how they do against Sirius, because Sirius is really good. Obviously, I mean, we banned them from Low Wink last month, but we didn't even give them a shot to win that Low Wink last time. And they proved why. They're getting wins against strong teams. Definitely, I feel like they beat teams that are better than Twice. That doesn't mean they're going to beat Twice, because Twice is a really good LUTI team straight up. But they're in a rough group here, and you don't want to count out Paint Plus. New Rave. I want to say New Rave's rosters changed a little bit since they've got banned from low level, and these two teams, as much as I love these two teams, I feel like they're slightly out of place with these two guys, even though the Deep Fried Octolings beat Sirius, and that'll be an interesting matchup. They're playing week 1. Okay, we'll be keeping an eye on that. A little Low Ink rematch here in Div 3. But I feel like Sirius has grown a lot since those Low Ink days. The Deep Fried Octolings find a way to get a win against Sirius here. I think they'll do good in this set, but that'll be a very telling set for this group. Group B. A lot of teams kind of trending up and down in this one. You got some teams that have in it. I'm more interested, honestly, in Azult right here at this number 3 spot, because I feel like these are guys that are trending up in the right direction. Again, somebody always tries to sign up from Low Ink that subs for Azult because, like, I think 50 different people have played for Azult over the last couple of months. And we always deny that person from Low Ink, and they're like, well, why are you denying me? Well, it's because you played for Azult, and Azult is really freaking good, and they proved that by winning beta in Launch Point. Now, do any of you really care if you win a, like, Gamma, or if you win, like, a gimmick tournament? Right? Like, there was some people in the seeding council that did care about gimmick tournaments. I couldn't care less unless you like got like a monster upset against a team like traditionally you never would have touched. But Azult winning beta against actual name brand teams in that Launch Point tournament, combined with all of the SOS results that they have that are positive, I think Azult is trending in the right direction. Enough to get past Hyperflow? Possibly. Puzzle, I forget who's on Puzzle, but you don't want to confuse this team with Puzzle Moon. But I know they were pretty much safe in the div that they got here as well. Group C. This group is interesting for me because it is filled with teams that were really confused when we banned them from Low Ink last month. Like, legitimately tried to, like, DM their way back into Low Ink, like, I don't understand why you banned me kind of thing. Well, you're in Div 3, sweetheart. What do you want me to do? I recognize you're good. Maybe it's time you should as well. A lot of these teams really strong. Sunlight, Syntopia. Syntopia might win this one. I feel like Syntopia is really strong in this group. Frost Blaze, I believe, is a reincarnation of some sort of Frost Burn. That was Div 2 last season, has a Fairy who is a better Hydra player than me on their roster. So we'll be interested to see what Floss Blaze has to do there. In the, not the UK, the Wash division of the UK Mafia. Why are there so many teams that have like a sister team to them? Like the Inkvaders have 2 teams. UK Mafia's got 2 teams. I think I saw somebody announce yesterday that they're forming a second team as well. Like what I guess we should have a Destiny Cadet. I asked Fairy if I could pronounce their name Fairy, and she said, like, I don't care at one point. So unless that's changed, Fairy is correct in my book. Group D. I think this one's Rising Waves group to lose. Group D, you could easily make the case for Rising Wave to be in Div 2. I think the problem was their roster's been revamped a little bit, and they haven't been getting as strong as the results as they had before. But Synergy is the team that has improved a lot. Synergy constantly doing good. They did good in Super Jump. They made top 8 in the Shopping Spree tournaments, which rubbed some people the wrong way, but it's not Synergy's fault at all. You can only play the teams that are presented to you, and they beat them all in that tournament. Synergy looking really strong. I definitely think these 2 teams are locked to make playoffs. Well, maybe not locks. You don't want to count out Nap Time, who is, I believe they won a bracket in SOS. You want to count out Puzzle Moon, who I've scrimmed against before several months ago. I haven't seen them since then, but they seem pretty much on par with us back then. And Red Sun apparently beat the tar out of Thimbo IHOP in a scrim yesterday, so that means that they're really good, because that's what scrim results mean. Infinidots. Haven't seen these guys in a while. I know they've still been somewhat consistent. I just personally haven't been paying attention to them. This is a good group for them. I'll be interested in this matchup they play against Red Sun in week 2, because I know more about Red Sun right there. That'll be more telling for both these teams. But still, I feel like Synergy and Rising Wave, this is their group to lose. Like these 2 should have their playoff spot until they give it up to somebody else. And we're moving on down to the very controversial Div 4. Now, I have a rant for people that are in Div 4 that are complaining about being banned from low ink after this month because they feel like they're still low ink eligible team. I'll talk about that on Friday. The TLDR is, how many opportunities are we supposed to give you to win low ink? If we're planning on banning you alpha bracket teams at some point anyways, you don't get a million chances to do it. So make sure you do it this weekend. But more importantly, focus on your LUTI matches and do really well here. Ink and Default, Avril, Parias, who else? Also, why did you put Ink in your name? Was this just to annoy Furion of Geek Squids? Another player on that roster for this team. They did good in SOS. But they make Hammerhead, I believe. They beat Red Sun on stream. That's what I'm thinking of. Strong team in their own right. Fruit Gummy, thank Roundy that they recognized who you are. I don't know how good Fruit Gummy actually is, but Roundy was able to kind of find who these guys are. Otherwise, they would be in Div 9. But the rest of these teams, here's the team I really like in this group. Typhoon, a.k.a. Trollfoon, from Low Ink August that finished in third place. Remember that match, Splat Zones Wahoo, where a team was looking, they pretty much won, but then the other player DC'd literally like just a few frames before the cutoff, and that was the team that beat Typhoon. I believe that was Wipeout Punks, and Typhoon didn't really mentally come back from that one. Like, you could tell, like, losing that game because of the DC replay just kind of did them in there. But Typhoon's really strong. The players on this team won Falco's Friday Night Frenzy. I forget what team, like Flounder Heights or something, Flounder Flights or something like that. But Typhoon in general, their roster's really strong. I think seeing them going up against teams like Demon Hunters is going to be tough. ITAP obviously is a different beast from what they've been earlier in this year. Thimble IHOP, I don't know. I don't know about Thimble IHOP. I mean, I love me some Thimble IHOP, but I don't know what they've been doing recently in tournaments. I feel like Typhoon. I feel like these bottom two teams are the scary teams in this group, and I think everybody else here would agree that these 5 and 6 seed teams they probably don't want to play them. Who plays who first? ITAP plays IHOP. Oh, Ink and Default got Demon Hunters right off the bat. I'm sure that'll be streamed. I'll be interested in watching that. Ink Reapers in Group B. Won Low Ink back in May. Very scrappy Low Ink win. I think Ink Reapers might have won the award for the most unhappy team with their div in all of LUTI. It's hard to tell because they were speaking, I think they were speaking in German in the Complain About Your Div channel, but they were in there for a good chunk of time arguing with somebody. They might have a case. I mean, Div 4, you look at where some of the other teams are that have won Low Ink, might have been a little bit better, but still, this is a chip on your shoulder kind of thing. When a team is pissed off, they typically take it out on some other teams here, but they got a tough group. Unlucky is the team that just was unlucky for everybody else that they were put in Div D, and they just ripped everything apart. So they should be pretty strong here. Shinobi Squad, Disarium, obviously a strong team in their own right as well. I feel like they were like playing in Low Ink last year because I remember this team name in general. That's just a mouthful. The Fukatsu Angels. I don't remember. I think we... I don't think we banned them from Low Ink, but I think we were like, hey, you need to, like, I think they were having trouble getting a roster together for Low Ink because they did finish in third place. I think I had them as my number one team to win a Low Ink earlier this year. So I thought they just fell off the face of the earth. So it's good to see these guys back, a really strong team. This is a tough group. The Sentinels, a lot of people were really hype on the Sentinels. I think they beat Sanctum a couple of times. But this looks to be a really tough EU group here. But the Ink Reapers, if they're as passionate as they were in the Complain About Your Div channel, they should be able to find a way to get a playoff spot here. Group C, Yoru, a.k.a. Rainbow Blossoms. Cascade Duck Crew, who upset my team in Super Jump. I'll get over that. Luma Stars, who I didn't talk about a lot about during the Low Ink recap, because these guys did go 6-0 on Saturday. And then I think we had to nerf their roster a little bit, and they didn't do as well on Sunday. But still, I guess they've been popping off in other tournaments since they've been doing good here. BLT, these guys apparently, from what I've gathered, do not have confidence in themselves right now being in this group. Who cares? A different tournament, do some game planning. You guys will be just fine. Get you some dubs here. Quit being so bashful and start being a bully here. But the team I'm really scared of. I'm really scared of this game over team. Yeah, they played Demon Hunters and they lost to them because they used the sub of bomb defense, and they had to take an L because of that in the launch day tournament. But game over, man, they played one Low Ink and they did really well in it. And I was kind of in the back of my mind thinking, like, I hope these guys don't sign up again, because I feel like they might be too good and we just kind of missed that. And they are really good. Good enough to win this div? I think so. Honestly, I think they might be. If they're the same team and they've been improving ever since then, I think they might be able to get past these guys and make a playoff group here. Group D. Wipeout Punk's Leg, Uwu United. This is just a who's who from Low Ink's yesteryear. Leg and Wipeout Punks. Yes, Low Ink teams eligible. This will be their last Low Ink, but they've been getting good results outside of Low Ink. That's not to say there are a bunch of other teams that make Alpha Bracket that play in other tournaments. They just don't get any results that make us think, nah, you're banned from Low Ink because of this. But still, Wipeout Punks and Leg definitely deserve Div 4 here. Uwu won Low Ink, of course. That kind of helps them out. But I don't know what they do outside of this might be one of their first experiences outside of a low-level tournament, at least that I know of. Watercolor, I think this team definitely playoff contender. The more they play, the better they're going to be. The problem with Watercolor is that these other teams should have more synergy than them up to this point. Watercolor led by Jim, and I believe Carbine is another player on that team that I know as well. Jim, formerly of the Broadway Gorilla. No, not just the Grillers now. Scenario, I wrote down some notes about Scenario, didn't I? Oh yeah, it's basically, well, not basically, but it's got some former or maybe just current. It's got some people from Geek Squids on it, on this team. So they got some potential to get some wins here as well. But I like these two teams here at the bottom. Yes, Uwu technically beat them all to win the Low Ink, but still, I like what these two teams are doing outside of Low Ink. And I think they'll play a factor here to help them in this div. Div 5. I'm not drinking enough water. Delta, I feel like I knew that. But to be fair, I can't remember every roster off the top of my head for everything. So I apologize, Delta. I know you're one of my biggest fans. And the one person in chat who's likely going to find my address before everybody else. Rumor has it that Div 5 is going to be Falco Flyer's favorite one to watch. By the way, I saw Falco tweet out yesterday that he's willing to stream some people's sets. So if you're looking for a streamer to stream your LUTI matches, make sure you hit him up. What do we know about Solution? They were banned from Low Ink earlier this year and just disappeared. Vanished into the night, never to be seen again. Well, they're back now. They were a Div 4 team last season. The problem is, since they haven't really done anything since last season, or at least that we could find, other teams just kind of pushed over and took their spot. But the Fighting Wasounds, good to see them back in action. They got a tough group here, though. Emptiness made alpha bracket last time. Shining Storm, I believe, has always been an alpha bracket contender whenever they play in low ink. Squadra Azura is the team that won Div 6 the World. So these guys have actually won a LUTI Div, which pays dividend in a LUTI tournament itself, because they know how to get wins in this kind of format. And obviously you cannot count out Myopsidus. Myopsidus, I feel like if this is 2 months from now, Myopsidus might be a contender to flat out win this whole div, because they're constantly improving. They might be good enough to do it right now, but Myopsidus is one of those teams that's constantly trending in the right direction to where you're going to be excited to see what they are after they get banned from low ink and they move one past that, if they can find ways to move one past that. But Myopsidus, contender for like most improved team of the year, honestly. But this is going to be a tough group for anybody to get out of in general. Group B, oh my gosh, day old sushi. Where have you guys been? They got a revamped roster that does not include me. Man, every time I play with Destiny troops, I'm always just like, man, I'm just like one moment away from just saying, forget all these teenagers that are carrying me. I'm going to go play with the old farts at Day Old Sushi. That hasn't happened yet, though. I like being Div 2. Regardless, Day Old Sushi's new roster, I don't know how good that actually makes them. But as long as you got a crazy roller player on your team, you're going to be in a good situation. Persistence, back from the dead again. And we initially banned Persistence from low ink because, well, they were threatening to win it back when it was a Div 4 thing. But when they came back, we said no. And then they played in a bunch of other tournaments, and now we're like, okay, yeah, you guys are, we see now. So Persistence, capable of winning this Div? Yes. Are they there yet? That the question is still out on that. The answer seems to be no for right now, but they seem to have basically the core roster they used to have. Especially Bearpaw, a very underrated splatling player, I think, who does other things as well now for them. Bearpaw, definitely a monster for anybody to deal with, but Persistence on paper, excited to see them play, and they go up against the Bungus Bros Circus. The notable players on this one, Yam. Yam won low ink, right? Or am I thinking of Pan, former Tooniverse players? I think I'm thinking of Pan. And another notable player on this circus team, Farmer, who is I think the oldest competitive player. Farmer used to be Div 2 back with like the old Nightshade team, I think is what that was. Like not Nightshade X, like that's a completely different team, just same name. But Farmer, really probably my idol, is like, okay, 10 years from now, I can still be a competitive player. My reflexes won't completely fall off. But Triggerfish Zone Supremacy, they did good in one tournament. They got like a wide variety of skill levels here. I think they're just kind of doing this one for fun. Kraken Mayor on this team. I like Ink Bastards, though. I like consistency. Of all the teams here, they're the most consistent. They're the most synergized. They're the most actual legit team. And I feel like that should do enough to get them a playoff spot, but it depends. Like they're in a team with they're in a group of basically 5 wild cards, and that makes it kind of frustrating to deal with game plan wise. Group C, UCSD Esports. Welcome back. I think they got a little bit of a revamped roster though. They still got the monsters that they used to have. I believe Mofugami, what is that? The God of Fluff? Is that what we looked up? Still an issue for anyone to deal with, but I feel like some other players had to graduate off of this roster. So that's kind of why they got bumped down to Div 5. Ink Sync, good to see that they're once again eligible for low ink with Div 5 here. Played in the Friday Night Frenzy tournament, and they've been popping up here and there. But this is, I think a lot of people forget, Ink Sync, is that I capitalized or is that an L? Did they just misspell their name in Sync here? That wouldn't surprise me. Those guys are morons. But this is one of the oldest teams we have in the scene, honestly. Like, they're Destiny troops. The Grillers, Crustacean Crusaders, kind of old. So it's good to see them still around. Inked is improving a lot here as well. They got to deal with the Pirates, the Vivace, a lot of really strong low-ink teams in this group here. I like Inked, though. I feel like this is a team that's trending in the right direction. Did really well in FLUTI. Div B making playoffs in that. Or Div C, I'm sorry. Making playoffs in that. So I liked Inked here to get out of this group. Group D is just the who's who of Alpha Bracket mixed in with Kingmaker. Kingmaker, strong, yes. Is Hammer on Kingmaker the best player in Div 5? Yes. Is this team going to do well in LUTI? If these teams who are smart teams, especially Access Denied, if they do any research on Kingmaker at all, they should be able to come up with a way to deal with the comp Kingmaker has. So that should, in theory, should significantly hurt Kingmaker. I don't think Kingmaker is built to play well in LUTI. And especially, again, like Access Denied is a smart team. Like, they pay attention to things like this. These guys game plan. They're going to come up with something to deal with Kingmaker. Snowfall is really underrated. The reason, man, if they had actually played in that low ink and got something, if they got something in that low ink Sunday instead of dropping and giving Rising Stars the storyline, they might be in Div 4. Honestly, they just didn't get enough results. Aquatic Vanguard, up-and-coming team. Illumini, obviously, strong team in their own right as well. But again, old team here. New team with old players. Snowfall, strong team. Sekis Naga, old team. Access Denied, old team. They should figure out the way to get Kingmaker here. But if not, and Hammer and the other brushes and the junior that they throw out there, they could feast on this group skill level-wise. I just don't think the comp is built for something where people can actually come up with game plans and control more things. But we'll keep an eye on that, though. Who plays Illumini? I like Access Denied to do really well in this div. I think that's not really a hot topic to give. Group D. I've played against this lowest team in that Rainmaker Megalodon tournament twice, and it's hard to get a sense for how good they actually are, but other people in the seeding council were really big on them. Obviously, as they got the number 1 seed here. This is a bit of a hodgepodge thing going on here. Freelancing Teriyaki. I believe these guys got we're on Div 6 here on the sheet. These guys were in Div 6 last season, but they didn't really do particularly well. But just getting that season under their belt should help them out in this season as well. The Delicious Nuggets, though. This is the team you want to pay attention to, because they won DSB Div 5. That's basically like the equivalent of the German LUTI League. Now, Div 5 doesn't match up to like the LUTI Div 5, but still, being in a tournament like this and winning an entire bracket should pay dividends. I like the Nuggets, the Delicious Nuggets, in this group. And it'll be exciting to see Lois do something other than Rainmaker for myself personally. Group B. Overflow is a top cut. Overflow's made top cut in Minnow Cup, Alpha Bracket, and Low Ink. That's probably why they're up here. Legato, a lot of question marks. I think they've revamped their roster a little bit. And, you know, they won a little Squid League. They made Alpha Bracket the month after that, and we haven't seen them since then. They added Fern to their roster too a little bit, so maybe Fern's like giving them some extra like advice that they can kind of go with. Fern being a strong player, formerly of Luau. So they got kind of the right core here. And I feel like if you were to say they were make the playoffs out of this group, I think that's fair. This is the team you want to keep an eye on, though. Cropora, Mothman, Pez, and Devil are some players that make up this new team. We'll be keeping an eye on them. They could be really strong here in Div 6. Obviously, Legato as well. Not to count out these other teams. Vaporwave, it just kind of depends on the day for them. Jelly Squids slowly but consistently improving, and Snow Cone Inc. Had a really good Low Inc. a couple of months ago. Could have a potential to make alpha bracket as well, but these other two teams, I think, just a little bit too above them right now. Group C. Shoutouts to Cryocore, Toasty, and Tyrant. I believe Boss Tyrant on this team here. But this is a tough group. Nothing against Outcast Ninjas. Nothing against my wife's team, Halcyon. Not to be confused with Tooniverse. Not to be confused with Pure Pressure. It's the same team, rebranded a third time. But literally feeding. These guys are the wild card here. They come from the Nintendo tournament, and they dominated Low Inc. and had to drop Sunday. Blue Moon. These guys were giving everyone fits in Epsilon, Bracket, and Super Jump because they won it. In Ocean 7, I think the 7 here is a reference to how many times they've dropped from Low Inc., but when they actually play, they're really good. I like these bottom three teams here in this group. This is going to be a rough one for the top teams here. Group D in Div 6. Up the ante, the most glow-up of glow-up teams over the course of the year. Rising Stars, kind of... these three teams in general have peaked, maybe not peaked, but they've had good results that earlier in the year that haven't really met up with recently. Intimidation Factor won a little Squid League. Didn't really have a good Flutie. Kappa consistently making alpha bracket, seemed to struggle to get back up there. Rising Hope seemed to be doing really good. But hope seems to be running out for them. They said after this season, they're going to go on a bit of a hiatus-ishness thing. But I've had sources tell me something that might be coming from the Rising Hope team in the future. Did I have something listed here for Yuma Stars? I believe so. Here's what it's interested in this team. Yume Stars. It's got 3 players from Power Inc. on it, maybe more, and Lumina from Nightshade X. So you could argue this is a reincarnation of Power Inc., a alpha bracket team that did really well. I believe they were in Div 7, but they made like deep runs into the playoffs. But this is a new team, U Stars, and I think they're going to be really good. I honestly think they might win this group straight up, not just make playoffs, because this is a strong team on paper. We'll see how they do in this tournament, though. Okay, we got 7, we got 8 World, 8 America, and then whatever the heck is in Div 9. Yikes. Div 7. Ice Cube's made playoffs in a... Captain Bob, get out of the way. I'm trying to see here. Thanks for the follow. One of the few people on Kingmaker that doesn't use a brush weapon. The team I want to keep an eye on here. Ice Cube's made, what I was saying, they made playoffs in a Flutie, I want to say Div D, they made playoffs in, which is why they were able to be bumped up to 7 and get out of 8. But the Sweepy Seals, these guys are really strong. I wouldn't sweep on the Sweepy Seals. I'm obviously a big fan of them. I talk about them a lot. Being here at the bottom of Div 7, I feel like this, in theory, in paper, should be a group that they can make playoffs in, if not flat out win it altogether. Group B, Tinta Shrimp Tacos. No, not the Tinta Shrimp Tacos. That team doesn't exist anymore. This is Tinta Shrimp Cocktails. One of the better Tinta Shrimp teams. There is another Tinta Shrimp like ramen team we'll look at later. But I think the Cocktails here at number 1 is fair. They did really well in the last LUTI group. Sharky Shark Sharks, you owe me a big thank you, because if I didn't recognize your team players, you would be stuck in Div 9. But they should be doing really good here as well. Pond Duck Crew, another team that made playoffs in Div D of Flutie, helped their case out here. I know Price is really big on the haunted squids, I think, but I don't know too much about this team personally. Blazing Storm, they made an alpha bracket like back in February, but Haven't really seen a lot from them since then. This could be a group this could be the group of death in Div 7 here. Could be the really strong, loaded up group. And I don't know much about this Dodo Gang team, but they are the number 2 seed technically in this group right now. So, yeah, maybe the winner here goes on to win all of Div 7. Group C, Broken Controller Gaming. These guys are going to make playoffs. Take it to the bank. The other team threatening to make the playoffs. How about the only team to submit a not a complaint, but an appeal to their div, the Squid Killers? They were like, excuse me, I don't think you looked at us correctly. I think you might realize on a second glance that our results prove we're a little too good for Div 7. Well, I think they'll make playoffs here, honestly. CIA, we haven't seen them in a while. Good to see the agents still in action. I don't know what their current roster is. Surf and Turf, still on a bit of a rebound. Hidden Radiance of the Dawn, obliterated Hidden Radiance of the Twilight Dawn, more powerful. But No Name Brand, I don't know who these guys are, and I didn't look them up. My bad. But they are the number 1 seed here. But still, Broken Controller Gaming, I like these guys. Squid Killers, I think they feel like they got something to prove, and I think they will do just that. Div 7, look, we're almost done. We're getting through this. Group D, Starfall. Why are they number 1 here? They are 5-0 in Div 7. Was it Div 7 they were in last season? I think it was. Yeah, Div 7 the world. They 5-0'd their LUTI group last time. Why are they in Div 7 again? Well, this is a little bit stronger Div 7, arguably this time around, because you've got a team like Heaven's Moonlight, who arguably could be Div 6, Inkfigures Alpha, Clownfish, Astro, who did really well in the most recent low ink. Man, Div 7's strong. Now, I was thinking this was the group of death, but I mean, you got the Sleepy Seals mixed in with all these teams up here. Yeah, Div 7 is a lot stronger than what we give it credit for. It's all these teams are really good. I think Starfall 5-0ing their group before should be an advantage to them, knowing how to play well in LUTI. I think they get a spot here. Heaven's Moonlight, man, these are strong teams in their own right. But I just feel like Heaven's Moonlight is more current right now. It should deserve a spot. Div 8 America. This is I like Div 8 because I think 99% of these teams we could actually get information on. Div 8 last season was like a mix of teams who had information and just a bunch of teams who didn't, which made it a total mess. This one is this is an actual legit Div 8. And it's split up into America and World. We're looking at an American group right here. Group A, Title Abyss, obviously number 1 seed, strong team. Inkerswim, super old. I think Inkerswim can find a way to get past this team. It can keep their playoff spot here, just because they're old and they got experience. We're excited about the not new, but they do have a little bit of a new roster. I see they've dropped Psychedelic and they're just the Purdue air launchers, which makes no sense. But they still keep the PAL name. Hopefully PAL does a little bit better this time around this LUTI season. Inkvaders Bravo. I don't know the difference between Alpha and Bravo. Just because I've always assumed the players with their roster, I've always just assumed them with the Inkvader brand. But we'll keep an eye on how good these guys do. But I think Inkerswim makes playoff spots here. My Cool Friends pickup group could possibly do really good here as well. But I think these top 3 teams are the ones vying for the playoff spot. Overlook. What did I put down about them? Top cut in an LSL. I believe they said they tied for 5th, which means they've lost it in round 1. But still, being able to make top cut in a div like this can make a bit of a difference. Trivia Brand. They said this was Lightning Shoals back when LUTI divs were actual number or letters, and they were Div D back then. That's not Flutie. That's LUTI Div D. So that's got to be like a crazy old team there. So who knows how good these guys are actually going to be. Sometimes when a team takes off like a year, like 3 years or 2 years off, they don't come back as strong. It takes them a little while. But you definitely want to keep an eye on these guys. Ink Alliance is another team as well here. I didn't quite have information about them. I know they played the Wiggly The main reason I know Ink Alliance is because the Wiggly Phantoms, the Inca's Low video, they played them. I think the Wiggly Phantoms beat them. So one of the few teams they beat. But still, Ink Alliance has been playing in tournaments for a while. That does pay dividends here. Pop-Up Besties are roster in... I can't read my own handwriting here. I just wrote down that it intrigues me. That doesn't mean anything to me right now when I wrote that down yesterday. Still, I like actual teams. Overlook, Ink Alliance. Actual teams do kind of pay a different dividend here. Group C, Drifting Tide. I want to talk about this team. All of you have played against Drifting Tide at one point or another. Have you gone against a league team that had like Xnot, Oli Wan, like OLI-WAN, and JT? I promise you, or maybe it's JF. I promise you, you have played this team in league. They're always like 2,100. I've seen this team forever, and I've never seen them play in a tournament. Like for years, I've seen these guys in league. So I think this might be the first time they've actually played. Their name is Drifting Tide. I'm excited to see these guys because I promise you all of you have played against them at one point or another. BitClam, Bench Warmers, actual teams as well. Los Santos. I believe these guys were Div 8 last season, back when Div 8 was crazy. So you got a good mix of players here, but I'm just interested in seeing Drifting Tide because I feel like these are the true league warriors of Splatoon 2 all time. Yes, they used to have that UI tag, and then they switched to DT. Yeah, they used to be that UI team, Jimmy. That is correct. Div D, Pufferfish Party is the team that I am excited about in this div. They made Gamma Bracket before. They've played at Riptide, actually, the LAN tournament. They said they've only won one match there, but still, they at least got synergy enough. They at least know what each other will look like in person. So maybe they'll pay a little bit of dividends here against some of these other teams. Ink Force, I believe, played in Flutie, but I think a lot of people dropped in their group. This is Calamari Crew. Not Calamari Crew. Still have their name left over from that SOS where everybody was encouraged to make cat names. Div 8 the world. You got they got the GooTuber team here, and my goodness, constantly breaking everything on Battlefy and Challenge and Smash GG is this team name. I hate you, but you're good enough results to be in Div 8. Don't know much if this is the new team from the Tinta Shrimp brand. Bloody Wave, I believe, is a team that I want to focus on in this group. They were Div 4 in EBTV, a French league. French teams traditionally are pretty strong. I don't know if that's a fair thing to say, but I feel like that kind of having actual experience in a league like LUTI does pay dividends here. That's why I like Bloody Wave. Keep an eye on them here. But yeah, look, GooTuber. Look at this nonsense. What is wrong with you? My Lag Paradise has played in some low inks before. I feel like I've talked about them because I've always assumed they just lag. Not a good thing to be associated with. Revival, they're playing in low ink. Cake, 8-Ball have all been in Little Squid League before. 8-Ball played in Div 8 last season. I think they got thrown in there last minute when somebody dropped. Rolling Squids, I feel like wins this group though. They might be underseeded here, but they've been playing consistently. My Lag Paradise, I feel like, is fair up here because I feel like they did do decently well when they played in low ink, but I feel like Rolling Squids has more experience. Group D, Ink in the System. This team beat Wiggly Phantoms in that that video. I just talked about it. What was it? Man, my brain is fried. This is difficult going through all of these. The Inca's low. So Inca in the system, the number 1 seed here. Hook, line, and sinker. These all seem like little Squid League teams. And I do want to point it out. I always call this team Hell Kings. It's been pointed out to me there is an L between this K and I. So this is Hell Klings. What is a Kling? I have no idea. But these guys did play in Div 8, I believe, last season as well. But Ink in the system, I think, gets out of this group. All right, just for fun, we'll look at Div 9. And we'll see what that looks like. Is there actually a Div 9? Is it all one div? Let's see. A, B, C, D. Is there not like a Div 9 world or something like that? There is a team. Look, I know this Typhoon team. Typhoon, all caps with this little infinity symbol. Did I miss Otakos? I feel like I wrote down something about them. I did. I just completely missed them. Wherever the... Maybe next time I do a LUTI thing, I'll start from the bottom and work my way up so that I'm completely delirious from DivX. But Otakos, whatever group they were in, I feel like they were supposed to... I had them doing really well. They're in Div 8, aren't they? My bad, Otakos. I know you guys are good. I just brain farted you guys. Typhoon is a team that actually does play. They played in Low Ink before. Other than that, none of these other teams pop out to me as having any experience at all. I think one team here put down on the reference sheet that they got like 1900 in league once. Some teams put down absolutely nothing. Flashy the Pig, that's a good team name. Burst Bomb and Splat Bomb. These two teams ending up in the same group. That's kind of funny. Vimo Timo is a good name as well. Okay, so you also got this nonsense here. You got Fresh and Chips, in parentheses, Fresh. And you also got Fresh and Chips, in parentheses, Chips. Like, what is going on here? 4 noobs. We looked into their roster. They are legit 4 noobs. This is accurate. And yeah, Good Morning, not to be confused with Good Morning. Phantom Clover. Do I like this team name straight up? I mean, Phantom Clover makes no sense, but neither does Wiggly Phantoms, and we don't... I mean, I probably made fun of them years ago for that. Dark Demons. Aren't all demons dark? And what is this? What is this? It starts off with a apostrophe at the beginning of the name. This C is kind of melting off of the page. I don't know what this letter is here between this R and this uppercase I that's really small. This is just a total crap show. The one team that I think, look at them. They got the number 1 seed here. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You know what's interesting? Even if you wanted to look up information on this team, there's 4 players on it, and you can guess what the IGNs of those 4 players are, and you'll be right. But like, even if you wanted to try to find information on this team, it's impossible. If you were to go to Google and Google Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the 4 players they got, of course you're going to get Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff. Even if you typed in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Splatoon, you're going to get Splatfest things because there was a TMNT Splatfest one. So even if you wanted to try to find information on these guys, even if this is an actual legit team, it's impossible. It's literally impossible to find anything on them, even if you wanted to. So my hope is this is an actual team. What if this is just like the speculation? This could just be FT Win smurfing, which would be hilarious if that was the case. But we'll see. We'll see how the Turtles do. Unfortunately, no Master Splinter on their roster. No Casey Jones. No April O'Neil. But I guess she's too busy playing in the Nickelodeon Smash Brothers. You know what? Since I got like half a minute, where is Otakos? They should be in the World group, right? Did I just completely skip a group here in Div 8? I did. I didn't even talk about Group B at all. I just skipped right over it. I was so mad about GooTuber. That makes sense. That's why I didn't talk about Otakos. Because I also want to talk about Oofish and Bamboo Dragons. I feel like Bamboo Dragons gets out of this group. I feel like Bamboo Dragons and Otakos gets out of this group. Otako's being an olderish team. I know they played in some pickups in the most recent tournaments that they played in, not over in the Otako's name, but just like as a pickup. I forget what pickup team name they had. I know it was something kind of silly. But that's why I just completely skipped this group altogether. But Bamboo Dragon should be doing enough to get out of this group as well. Ufish improving a lot, but I don't think they've improved enough to the point to where they can get past these two teams. So there you go. That's why I didn't talk about Otakos. Just completely missed that group. I mean, yeah, I'm genuinely curious if Div 9, if this is available to be selected on Dogcat Hype, that makes sense. You played with Ahmed, I believe on that team. If this is available to be selected in the fantasy bracket, this probably just has to be the tiebreaker. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can go off of for any of these teams. It's just and this is why I'm glad Div 9 exists. That like everybody here, almost everybody here is just a mystery. So Div 8 can actually just be straight up Div 8. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on this, I guess. Hopefully they play. A lot of teams in the lower div dropped last time. Oh, so we're done. 2 episodes in back-to-back days. We're not done. We are doing a record 3rd episode of the Popcast on Friday. So, Low Ink preview coming out on Friday. If you'd like to be a part of the Popcast in any way, feel free to reach out to me. Socials below: Twitter, Mr_Popgun, Discord, Popgun, hashtag 5882, YouTube at Popgun25, 25 Popgun, Twitch at Popgun25, Anchor.fm / Popgun. Let's rate Outcast Ninja. I believe also does commentary for LSL. Joe Ryan. Enjoy the what? Oh, I misspelled that. If there's any wonder why I've decided not to do this every single day or every single week like I did last time, we'll go back to LUTI after like a couple of weeks and recap everything. But we're not doing week by week anymore. Yeesh. This was a long one.